Okay, hello, dear reviewees. I am Dr. Andrew Ray Sosa Peña, and I am reviewing you on your specialization, particularly on language, culture, and society, language programs and policies for multicultural societies, and English for specific purposes. So I've asked you to answer items 1 to 30. So we have so before you if you are viewing this recording, if you're viewing this as a recording, not live, you first need to answer items 1 to 30 of this particular document that you should have. Okay. Okay, so this is uh we are now answering the practice test items, and this is the key. Okay. So number one, which term refers to fear of the number 13? A. Acrophobia. B. Triskaidekaphobia. C. Tresebophobia. D. Aphasia. The answer is Triskaidekaphobia. Triskaideka is Latin for a Greek for 13, and phobia is fear. So that's the correct answer. Acrophobia is fear of big areas. Aphasia, on the other hand, aphasia, on the other hand, refers to loss of speech. Okay, while tressophobia, I just invented that. Okay, triskaidekaphobia is the fear of the number 13. Number two, which of the following is a well-known Creole language? Okay, there's a typo here. Which of the following is a well-known Creole language? A. Melanesian. B. Japanese. C. Tokpisin. D. None of the choices. The answer is Tokpisin. Tokpisin is a Creole language in Papua New Guinea. By the way, a Creole language is a language that was recently invented by people. So if in as the practice of colonizers in the past, they put different people from different ethnic backgrounds, of course, with their own languages, together for a particular project, like a construction project. And so those people could not speak language. They invent a language for communication, usually based on the language of the colonizer, because that's a common language that they know. But they're not proficient enough to speak in that language. So they invent their own language, which is based on the colonizer's language, but with a lot of mixture from their own languages. And that language is called a pidgin. It's called a pidgin. Once the speakers pass on that pidgin to their children, it becomes what is called a Creole. The word Creole, by the way, in the past meant a European person who grew up in a tropical country. Remember, Europe is not tropical, but because of colonization, there are many Europeans who grow up in tropical countries. Okay, number three. Which of the following is the most prestigious dialect of English in the United Kingdom? A. Cockney. B. Anglo-Cornish. C. Official grammar. D. Received pronunciation. The answer is received pronunciation. In England, in the United Kingdom, the word received is used for official items. Received pronunciation, received version. Received version refers to the King James Version because it's the translation uh, decreed by the king. Okay? Oh, by the way, what is the United Kingdom? The United Kingdom refers to the grouping of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Again, Northern Ireland, not Ireland, okay? Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England. That is what we call the United Kingdom. Great Britain, on the other hand, refers to all of the three except Northern Ireland. So England, Scotland, and Wales, they are referred to as Great Britain. But if you add Northern Ireland, it becomes the United Kingdom. Okay. Number 4. What is an important characteristic of an argot? A, it is passed on to the next generation. B, it has tone. C, it changes fast. D, it uses semi-technical terms. The answer is C, it changes fast. It changes fast. The argot, by the way, what is an argot? An argot is a language used by people under stress from society. Okay? Could be criminals, it could be religious minorities, or it could be disparaged groups like homosexuals. So you know what is you're familiar with the term gay lingo. Gay lingo is a kind of argot. An argot is a language used by a group of people in order to keep themselves from being understood by others. That's an argot. That's so, and an important characteristic of argot is it changes fast. If the society at large finds out the meaning of a particular word in argot, there's a tendency for people in that group to change the word. They will no longer use that word. They will stop using that word. They will move to something else. That's the reason why gay lingo changes very quickly. Okay, so that's the reason why gay lingo changes so quickly. Okay, number 5. What is the term for the African American English dialect? The end of A, Ebonic, B, Hoytoider, C, Appalachian, D, Tupac. The answer is A, Ebonic. Ebonic. Remember, class, from the word ebony. Ebony is a dark substance. It's used for the black keys of the piano. The white keys come from ivory, the black keys from ebony. That's why Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson had a song called Ebony and Ivory. Ebony and ivory, we're together in perfect harmony, side by side on my piano, keyboard, to piano and keyboard. Okay, so the idea is black and white people producing good music, and the black keys are made of ebony. That's why the word ebonic uh, refers to the African American English variety. Okay, so another term, of course, is AAVA, an African American variety of English. It's also called ebonic. Okay, number 6. What is the primary marker of a person's ethnicity? A, worldview. B, nationality. C, passport. D, none of the choices. The answer is none of the choices because the primary marker of a person's ethnicity is language. You know that that person is belongs to this particular ethnicity if that person can speak the language, because the language is the crucible for the culture of that particular group. Imagine if there's a Cebuano who doesn't speak Cebuano. Can you really consider that person as Cebuano? Not very much. Probably not. Okay. Number 7, what is the term used to refer to languages in which words usually take the form of CV? A. Synthetic, B. Ergative, C. Mora, D. Lingua franca. The term is C. Mora. Mora languages have CV, CV, CV. Usually, this includes Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. That's why when they borrow, when Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese borrow a language from English, a word from English, and it has CVC instead of CV, they add another V vowel after the end of the last consonant. So, like for example, beef, that's consonant, vowel, consonant, beef. But in moral languages, it's CV, CV. So they add another vowel at the end. So the Japanese would call beef as beefu. They don't usually end their words with a consonant. They end their words with a vowel. So beefu. Left hook is left to hook. Left to hook. Okay, left to. Okay, because these are what we call moral languages. Consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Okay, number 8. Who in England published a famous dictionary as a way of preserving undefiled English? A. Noah Webster. B. Benjamin Franklin. C. Ichabod Miriam. D. Samuel Johnson. The answer is Samuel Johnson. Because Samuel Johnson was an example of what is called a prescriptivist. Somebody who says that this should be the way we should speak English. People who tend to correct people who don't speak English, native speakers who don't speak English properly. And so, in order to help, in his perspective, English speakers speak undefiled English, he published a dictionary. By the way, Noah Webster was the equivalent, the American equivalent. He published an American dictionary of English. And Noah Webster believed that, dreamed of American English being different from British English. Number 9. Which of the following is a macro language? A. Tagalog, B. Japanese, C. English, D. Bicol. The answer is Bicol. A macro language is a language, a term used to refer to languages in a particular region. Okay, it's not one language, it's a macro language because, class, in the Bicol region, there are many varieties of Bicol. Uh, you have Legazpi Bicol, you have Naga Bicol, you have Bua, Nabua Bicol, okay, many varieties of Bicol, and the people who speak those languages do not completely understand each other. But the term for the language is Bicol. Just like in the Visayas, the term for languages in the Visayas is Bisaya. Marunong ka bang magsalita ng Bisaya? Do you know how to speak Bisaya? But then, which Bisaya? You have Cebuano, you have Hiligaynon, you have Kinaraya, you have Romblomanon, and you have Samar. Okay, what's the language? What's the language in Samar? I forgot. Anyway, all those languages, they're not dialects, by the way. They are languages. A dialect is a variation within a language. If people cannot understand each other, then they are speaking two separate languages. So, but the term is Bisaya. Marunong ka bang mag-Bisaya? So, Bisaya is another example of a macro language. A term used to languages in a particular area. Okay. Number 10, what is more likely to happen to a dominant language when many non-native speakers speak it? A, the language begins to die out due to overuse. B, some aspects of the language become simplified. C, many speakers come up with a new language based on it. D, the speech of the native speakers become pigeonized. The answer is B. Some aspects of the language become simplified. Because non-natives are not so good in the nuances of the language becomes simplified. So for example, because there are many people who speak English, instead of the phrase have ridden or had ridden, many people say have rode or had rode, which is considered wrong, but it becomes simplified. Now, in the history of English, that's also what happened. In English, in the past class, English had so many versions of plurals. For example, the plural of bread was breadru. The plural of book was beak. The plural of peanut was peanite. But because many Vikings came to England and they tried to speak English, they simplified it by just adding S. Okay, so many words have become pluralized by just adding S. Of course, there are words that persist, like children and sheep. But because of so many Vikings speaking English, English ended up becoming more simplified, particularly in the plurals. I can share you a video in which I discuss the struggle for English. Number 11, which of the following states that language controls thinking? A, iceberg principle. B, uncertainty principle. C, Krashen's five hypotheses. D, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The answer is Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Sapir and Edward Sapir and Benjamin Whorf studied Indian languages, Native American languages, and they realized that they have a way of reckoning time differently because of their language. By the way, the iceberg principle, that's the principle of Jim Cummins, that all the languages that you speak come from what you call an underlying proficiency. Very important in MTD MLA. Okay? Okay. Two speakers cannot understand each other when they use their own code system in speaking. Which of the following cannot be true? A, their code systems are part of an L complex. B, their code systems are part of an L simplex. C, their code systems have an affinity with a standard dialect. D, they speak two different languages. The answer, class, is boy. Their code systems are part of an L simplex. What is an L simplex? An L simplex is a group of dialects in which everyone can understand each other. An example of L simplex is the Tagalog region. Even if you are from Batangas and you go to faraway Quezon, you can still understand their language in Quezon. You are from Cavite, you go to Laguna, or you go to Bulacan, you can still understand Tagalog, the Tagalog there. On the other hand, in the Visayas and Bicol, you have what we call an L complex, also called a dialect chain, where if you have A, B, C, D, E communities, A and B can understand each other, but A would find it difficult to understand the next community, which is C. But B and C can still understand each other. Now, B would find it more difficult to understand E. But the communities in D and E, they can still understand each other. So you understand. So in an L complex, you in your community, those of you in your community, can understand the language of the next community. But the community next to that, you find it more difficult to understand. And you go to the other communities further away, you find it more difficult, even more difficult to understand. But adjacent communities are able to understand each other. That's what you call an L complex. Okay, number 13. Which of the following is thought to be produced by putting a piece of paper with magic writing into a statue's mouth? A. Golem, B. Minotaur, C. Satyr, D. Ghoul. Class, among Jews, among Jews who were persecuted in Europe, one of the sorceries that's done is by getting piece of paper, doing some incantations, writing the name of God, YHWH, in the piece of paper, and putting the magic writing into the statue's mouth. And the mouth and the statue becomes animated. The statue becomes alive, comes alive. I don't know it if it retains its rocky body or if it magically turns into a human being. I'm not sure. But the term for that is a golem. If you suddenly remove the piece of paper from the mouth of the golem will become inanimate. Okay, that's why it's called, the term for that is golem. 14, which of the following is an argot? A, slang, B, bix, C, agglutinating, D, gay lingo. So the answer is gay lingo. Okay, slang is very informal language. Bix is basic interpersonal communicative skills. That's the version of a language that you use for everyday talk. C, agglutinating. Agglutinating is a language, a kind of language in which morphemes are put together, but you could still identify the morphemes. Okay? The answer is D, gay lingo. Do you have any questions, class? Any questions? Any questions?
Sir.
No, so far, sir.
You, let me, who's that? Yeah, you can ask a question. Yes, please, ask your question.
Sir, can you repeat the definition of agglutinating, sir?
Agglutinating is
Agglutinating.
a language in which morphemes are put together, but you could still identify the morphemes. Okay, I have a video for that. I will share the video with you later on. Again, an agglutinating language is a language in which you put morphemes together, but you could still identify the morphemes. An example is English and Filipino. An example of a language where you could not identify the morphemes are Native American languages, the Indian languages in the United States. On the other hand, you also have what is called an isolating language, in which one morpheme is one word, like Chinese. Okay, one morpheme, one word. That's an example of that is Chinese. That's an isolating language. One morpheme, one word. Isolating. But for agglutinating, you put several morphemes together, but you could still identify the individual morphemes. Okay, I hope I answered your question satisfactorily.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, number 15. Which of the following is a cipher used by the Nazis in World War II? A. Orange, B. Georgian, C. Enigma, D. Turing machine. The answer is Enigma. In the Enigma, you type a particular key like in a keyboard, but another character appears. You type it again, the same key, but another character appears. There's no one-to-one correspondence. So it was a very difficult machine to decipher, but it was finally deciphered by a guy named Alan Turing, who also invented the Turing machine, which is a theoretical model that supposedly could answer all mathematical problems. Okay, orange is refers to the chemical the Americans used in the Vietnam War. Okay, napalm. It's also called Agent Orange. Georgian, the Georgian knot is the knot that could not be untied by anyone. So what Alexander the Great did was to break it, because it was said that the Georgian knot, anyone who unties the knot would be able to conquer the world. So what Alexander the Great did was to cut the knot. By the way, we shouldn't call him great. Alexander the Conqueror, not Alexander the Great. Number 16. Number 16. Which of the following refers to the practice of putting hidden messages in song recordings? A. Steganography, B. Backmasking, C. Palindrome, D. Apophenian. The answer is B. Backmasking. Class, this was very popular in the 1980s. Like, for example, there was this song called Stairway to Heaven, but if you backmask it, there's a part that says, "Oh, my sweet Satan, the one who made a way." Okay, but we will discuss that later. Okay, we will discuss that later. In the 90s, it was the Eraserheads. According to some people, they could, if you backmask their song, you could hear somebody cursing Jesus Christ. Although if you listen to the actual backmasking, it's ungrammatical, it's improperly pronounced. So it's just people who say they see something when in fact there isn't any. Okay? Now, sorry. Number 17. What is the term used to refer to the practice of finding hidden messages in the Bible based on the arrangement of words or addition of number equivalents of letters? A. Gematria, B. Anagram, C. Simordnilap, D. None of the choices. The answer is gematria. Gematria. Okay? The answer is gematria. Once upon a time, class, in the early 1990s, there was this journalist who hurriedly approached the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, and the journalist warned the Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin that uh, he found the word Rabin and the word assassinate in the Bible close together. He found the word Rabin and assassinate together, close together in the Bible. And so he warned Yitzhak Rabin that he would be assassinated. But Yitzhak Rabin did not pay attention to that because for him it was ridiculous. I mean, how can you base your faith on words in the Bible simply because you found an arrangement? But true enough, class, eventually, uh, Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated. And even more amazing was after the assassination, when the journalist reviewed his uh, finding, Rabin and assassinate, he also found the name of the assassin next to the words Rabin and assassinate. Okay, so according to that journalist, there are hidden messages in the Bible. That's why he published a book called the Bible Code. The Bible Code. That is an example of what is called gematria or gematria. Okay. 18. What kind of words are star and rats, brag and garb, snub and buns? A. Palindromes. B. Gematria. C. Semordnilaps. D. Rebus. Class, by the way, a palindrome is a language that is the same when you read it from left to right and from right to left. So the word deed, deed, is a palindrome because if you read it from left to right, it's deed. If you read it from right to left, it's also deed. That's an example of a palindrome. And the longest palindrome I know, class, is the sentence, Madam, I'm Adam. That's the sentence that's the utterance made by Adam when he met Eve. So nung nagpakilala siya, when Adam introduced himself to Eve, he said, Madam, I'm Adam. Now, if you read that from left to right, it's Madam, I'm Adam. And if you read it from right to left, it's also Madam, I'm Adam. Okay? So that's what you call a palindrome. The same word read from left to right and from right to left is the same. But semordelaps, which is reading the word palindromes from right to left. If we read the word palindromes from right to left, you end up with the word semordnilap. Okay, so what are semordnilaps? These are words that are produced by changing the order from left to right and from right to left. So star, if you read it from left to right, it's star. But if you read it from right to left, it's rats. So these two pairs of words are called semordnilaps. Okay? Star and rats is an example of a semordnilap. Brag and garb is also another example of a semordnilap. So a semordnilap is a pair of words that are produced by reading from left to right and from right to left. So another example is snub and buns. Okay? Notice the difference between palindrome and semordnilap. Semordnilap, a palindrome is the same word. If you read it from left to right, right to left, it's the same word. Semordnilap, if you read from left to right and then from right to left, you produce another word. Okay, these are what we call semordnilaps. Okay, the word rebus, we will discuss that later. What type, number 19, what type of bilingual education is being practiced as MTBMLE in the Philippine education system? A. Segregationist. B. Transitional. C. Submersion plus withdrawal second language classes. D. Submersion. The answer class is transitional. The idea is for the first few levels, you use the first language, the mother tongue, to teach the subjects. And then later on, you transition to Filipino, and then you transition to English. So at grade 4, you transition to English. Okay, now there are lots of issues about that, but the term is transitional. The practice of MTB-MLE in the Philippines is called transitional because you start with the mother tongue and you transition to English and Filipino. On the other hand, in the United States, there's something called sheltered English. So which of the following is also known as sheltered English in the United States? A. Segregationist. B. Submersion plus withdrawal second language classes. C. Mainstream plus supplementary foreign second language classes. The answer is D. Structured immersion. Structured immersion. The idea there, class, of structured immersion, we will discuss later. Okay, we will discuss that later. Okay, but the idea is the English used in the education materials are somewhat structured differently. Okay, number 21. The Icastola system in the Spanish region of Basque is an example of what type of bilingual education system? A. Separatist with withdrawal second language classes. B. Segregationist. C. Submersion plus withdrawal second language classes. D. Sink or squid. The answer is separatist with withdrawal second language classes. A. 22. Okay. Which type of bilingual education system is intended to prevent the minority from participating in the majority language society? The answer is B. Segregationists. You segregate the minority language speakers from the rest of the population. Okay, we'll discuss that later. 23. According to Article 14, Section 6 of the 1987 Constitution, the national language or languages of the Philippines are A. Filipino, B. English and Filipino, C. English and Filipino, or D. Filipino. The answer is Filipino. Note class, that is the national language. Okay, that's different from official language. Okay, 24. Which of the following laws has the most extensive provisions on mother tongue based multilingual education? The answer is A. RA 10533. 10533. Yeah, that is where you find MTB MLE. 10533. Okay. 25. Which kind of ESP is for managers? The answer is dog. English for occupational purposes. Wait for a while. 26. When ESP teachers wish to discover how learners combine sentences to produce a coherent message, which of the following must be focused on? A. Register analysis. B. Discourse analysis. C. Skills and strategies analysis. D. Target situation analysis. The answer is B. Discourse analysis. When you talk about combining sentences to produce a coherent message, that refers to discourse. So if you analyze that, it's called discourse analysis. So by the way, after item 30, we have a break. We'll have a break around 10 minutes. Okay. What is the nature of ESP? A product, a teaching material, an analysis. The answer is CAP, an approach. It's an approach to teaching English. 28. Which of the following is a mandatory requirement for ESP? Restricted to specific learning skills to be acquired. That could be, but it's not required. C. Related to specific disciplines depending on the industry. Yes, but it's not mandatory. D. Designed for adult learners. Not necessarily. The answer is B. Related to particular disciplines, occupations, and activities. Okay. So it refers to specific, not specific, particular industries, disciplines, but it's not depending on the industry. That would be too, if you talk about depending on the industry, that would be too focused already. Okay? 29. According to the Constitution, which of the following languages shall be promoted on a voluntary and optional basis? Spanish, Bahasa in Spanish, Hokkien in Spanish. The answer is Spanish and Arabic. So when the Constitution was written, Hokkien was not valued yet, that value. Eventually, we learned to value Hokkien. That's why we have Chinese New Year as a holiday. And 30. What is a communicative situation which may be composed of several factors such as location, topic, interlocutors, and event? The answer is domain. Domain refers to a specific communication situation like educated people talking in a lecture, formally, educated people meeting together during break time. That's a domain. So, for example, the domain of formal discussion between educated people, you speak English in that situation. But when you take a break, even if it's the same people, you end up speaking your local language. When you are together, you are a bunch of educated people talking about an official topic. You speak in English, but when you take a break, you speak in your local language. That's another domain. What changed was the topic and the situation. Okay, that's item number 30. We will take a break, and after the break, I will ask you to answer number 31 to 40. Okay? You take a break first, and then after some time, you start answering. Okay? So, items 31 to 40. You take a break until 9:40. You take a break until 9:40. You answer the items. So we will start rationalizing the items at 10 o'clock. Is that clear? So take a break first and then items answer items 31 to 40, and then we will start rationalizing at 10 o'clock. I hope that is clear. I will pause. I will stop the recording for now. We'll have another recording. Okay, stop recording.